Dream died yesterday. The dream died yesterday. The dream died with this quote from the head coach of the New Orleans Saints.
All the quarterbacks were full today. You know, Andy's going to get the start again this week. I feel like he's played well offensively. I feel like we're in a little bit of a rhythm. We've been moving the ball effectively again. We've scored points. So we're going to continue down that road with Andy as the quarterback.
The dream died. The dream was that Jamies Winston would have a career resurrection in New Orleans and become a starting quarterback. A modern-day Jim Plunkett, if you will. Actually, that's not all that modern day. Let me try again. Maybe closer to something, say, like Matthew Stafford, okay? Good quarterback on bad team. Except that's a little bit of a reach because Stafford was way better than Winston for way longer. He may have been with a worse franchise. He was. So maybe that's a bit of a reach. Maybe Plunkett's a better example because Plunkett was the number one pick in the draft and just got beat to hell on some bad teams for a while before he finally wound up in Oakland and won 2 Super Bowls. That was the hope when the Saints brought Jamies Winston in. And the Saints had kind of dipped their toe in the Jamies Winston water for 3 years with the hope that at some point it would all fall into place. The first year was easy enough. He had no other suitors. They brought him in as a backup to Drew Brees. Sean Payton was still there. Get him in the system. Get him with a better coach. Yes, Sean Payton is 10 times the coach Bruce Arians is on Arians' best day. Maybe this will turn the corner for Jamies Winston. Some Sean Payton coaching, some Drew Brees on the practice field in the meeting rooms. This will turn everything around. Talent's there. In the second year, Brees is gone. Peyton's still there. Winston comes out, and there is some hope, okay? Because they had to re-sign him again that year, and they did. Again, no long-term commitments, mind you, but they were in there. And they had hoped that giving him the starting job last year in a competition, if he won it, that would be okay. And it was for a while, but then he got hurt after 7 games. The sample size of the 7 games was enough that they were, intrigued enough to go out again. It was like the third date, okay? I may not love this person, but I don't hate this person either, so let's go have another meal together. That's essentially what it was. No commitment. You don't get to meet my parents, okay? Not taking you around to meet my best friend or showing you, my, deepest, darkest mementos of my life. But enough to, hey, let's see if this works again. Their trepidation was obvious because they went looking high and low for a quarterback somewhere else, couldn't find one. Broke their backs to try to find another one. And when they couldn't, they re-signed Winston again. Again, short term. No long term because we just don't trust you. And they went out and got a high-quality backup just in case everything went to pieces. Yesterday with that quote, everything went to pieces. Now you know that the Saints do not have a quarterback. Not a quarterback to move forward with in the long term. They have a quarterback for 10 more games. Andy Dalton / Winston if he gets back in there / Taysom Hill if he's going to play some more quarterback. Everything about this screams stopgap. There's nothing wrong with Andy Dalton as a backup quarterback. We said that when he came in. He's actually probably one of the better backup quarterbacks in the league. He goes into 4 games. You'd like him to go 2-2. Last 4 games, they've gone 1-3. Double doink away, maybe a break here, a break there, but serviceable anyway. But we've seen Andy Dalton declining for the last 4 years. That's why Cincinnati was ready to move on from him in 2019. He has not gotten a whole lot better with age. He's still a serviceable quarterback. He can still get you from A to Z, but you're not going to win with Andy Dalton. I mean, you're not going to win big. You're going to win some games, but you're not going to win big. His numbers across the board have been declining since his last year in Cincinnati. The completion percentage has stayed about the same. The yards per gain have been about the same, but the touchdowns have come way down, and the interceptions have gone way up. We saw that last week. Dennis Allen, play the clip again. Play the clip again. I need to hear this just one more time, just to beat it right into my forehead one more time. Play it again.
All the quarterbacks were full today. Andy's going to get the start again this week. I feel like he's played well offensively. I feel like we're in a little bit of a rhythm. We've been moving the ball effectively again. We've scored points. And so we're going to continue down that road with Andy as the quarterback.
They're scoring 31 points a game with Dalton and 17 points a game with Winston. I can't argue those numbers, okay? That's fact. I mean, that's hard and fast numbers on a page. I can't argue with that. The part I can argue with is that Andy Dalton is playing well. Last week, Dalton threw 2 pick sixes. One of them might not have been his fault. Should have been caught, at the very least, knocked down. But the other interception he threw was worse than the first pick six because it was into traffic in the middle of the end zone when the game was in the competitive stages, and it cost you points. It was, quite frankly, the type of throw you would expect a rookie to make, not a guy that's been in the league since 2011. Andy Dalton has a ceiling. That ceiling gets lower every day. I'm sorry. It's just the point of his career. Guy's made $100 million playing quarterback in the National Football League. He's been in the playoffs, half a dozen times in Cincinnati. He's extremely accomplished, and he's a hell of a nice guy. You read anything about Andy Dalton, he and his wife did charitable work after charitable work in Cincinnati, in Buffalo, of all places, okay? Done some stuff down in New Orleans. I wish Andy Dalton lived next door to me, okay? Because I'd never have to worry when, my dogs got out of the yard that Andy Dalton wouldn't run down the street, find them, and say, Zoe, come on back. If Andy Dalton were given a speech, I'd go listen. But the ceiling is coming down. It's just that part of his career. So they'll get through to the end of the season, and it is what it is. But the Saints officially gave up on Jamies Winston in my head yesterday. I mean, if you're telling me that the way Dalton played is better than what Winston has showed them at practice, and there's no bias here. Allen's job is on the line. I mean, maybe not at the end of this year, but he doesn't have the type of political capital that Sean Payton had. Sean Payton could have run the wrong quarterback out there for 3 years running, and he still had a job. Dennis Allen doesn't have that luxury. So there's no reason for him to put a quarterback out there that he thinks is not as good as the one he's got on the bench. They've watched Jameis Winston since OTAs. They watched him throughout camp. They watched him through, not playing in the preseason, but in the preseason practices and through the first 3 games of this season, and they have decided, no thank you. The quarterback that threw an interception in the end zone and 2 pick sixes last week is a better option for us now. Now, bad as that sucks for Saints fans, it ain't the worst thing. The worst thing is not that you don't have a quarterback, bad as that is. The worst thing is you have no avenue to go get one. They've made these aggressive, sometimes reckless trades time and again. We got to have a running back, 2 firsts for Mark Ingram. We got to have a pass rusher, 2 firsts for Marcus Davenport. We got to have Chris Olave, who I like and I think is a terrific player and is going to be a great player for a long time. Had to have him. Cost be damned. Okay? You got no avenue to go get a quarterback now. None. You don't have a first-round pick next year. The cost to move into the first round this year without a first-round pick this year, I shudder to think at what the price tag on that would be. You have now entered the land of the desperate teams, the teams that are desperate for quarterbacks. You were in there last year. You did a good job of camouflaging it, I guess. But anybody that got into the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, given everything that was going on around him, was desperate for a quarterback. Congratulations. You've joined Carolina, who's been looking for a quarterback since Cam Newton left. Atlanta, who knew Matt Ryan was finished and just didn't bother to tell the Colts. Cleveland, who has been looking for a quarterback since Bernie Kosar retired. And now you? What is your avenue to go get a quarterback? Free agency? The cesspool of available quarterbacks right now? You want to get into the Baker Mayfield business? Do you like Carson Wentz? Can I interest you in Sam Darnold or Drew Lock or Jacoby Brissett? Your high water mark is Jimmy Garoppolo. That's the top of the pyramid is Jimmy Garoppolo, if you can get him. You might pry loose a Ryan Tannehill or a Daniel Jones if the Giants decide to move on. You could talk yourself into the idea that Cooper Rush or Bailey Zappi is really a starting quarterback and go get one of them at what cost? I don't know. You could try to shoehorn a second-round pick into that job. Good luck with that. I'll sit here and root for you to get Hendon Hooker, but I think that price tag goes up every day. So you've painted yourself into this corner. You don't have a quarterback now, and you don't have an avenue to go and get one. The dream died yesterday. I don't know what you do. Really, I don't. I don't have a good, hey, man, if you go out and you do that, they don't have anything to trade. They don't have, even if they had enough salary cap room to go out and sign a quarterback, there's no quarterback to sign. So if you can't draft one and you can't sign one, I don't know where you find one. You can't call somebody up from AAA. Dream died yesterday.